it's the third part of the daily. It's the Zerg vs. Zerg daily. We haven't done one, so we choose a good one. We haven't done one in a while. We've definitely done at least a non-zero amount. Sheth in this position, I think, has done a really excellent job. He has gotten the map control he needed with the mutalisk, taken the expansions he needed, exploited the time with not just the expansion, but also by getting the infestation pit and these upgrades up. And now he's going to be in all defense mode. I think that this hive is actually late. I think this hive should have been started while this attack was going on. Because again, this attack is also a little bit of a time buyer. So let's go ahead and get the hive up with these two bases. The reason I want to get the hive up earlier is that, sure, a Roach Hydra Infestor army is great. But if we get in a battle and we end up even, like we just trade armies, we don't really have a nifty way to follow it up. Or if we get into a battle and he beats us, we don't really have anything nifty to follow it up with. We just have to keep making roaches and stuff. I don't hate pushing with this, but I certainly like getting the hive a lot sooner. And here we go. Everyone moving forward at the same time. Let me just note one fast thing. While all this is going on, I'm going to say the most unexciting thing in the world. Using creep spread a lot is great with creep tumors, but I think the most underrated technique ever is just using the Overlord creep vomiting. Just doing this. I mean, this allows you to get expansions up with huge ease, just waltzing the spine crawlers forward. I mean, look, this creep tumor had almost no creep coverage. Very, very good. I mean, doesn't even have speed for Overlords. Now that I have talked about the most unexciting thing possible, let me come back to this awesome battle. Again, this poke, I think, is fine as an expansion shutting down move, but no more. And I love that Sheth just pulled right on back and is replacing that lost supply with infestors and hydralisks, and not with doofy roaches. And we're going to end up seeing this reflected in this unit count tab. And now it is the moment of truth for our good friend LiquidSheth. He's starting to be putting a little bit of pressure on these outer expansions, has to do some burrow. Burrow is one of those always necessary late game things. I'd also like to note that at a time like this is where players tend to autopilot. Nydus worming is great at a time like this. Just throwing down a Nydus worm, moving like this, and then boom, planting a Nydus right here. He repositions his whole army down here. You can eject out a couple of roaches, kill off this expansion, and just get sucked right back up in again. And Nydus worm down there. It's happening more and more and more on the ladders, but I wanted to give a giant capital Nydus worm, build it, sort of thing. And of course, Sheth is more than happy to throw down as many spine crawlers as he so desires, because with all his expanding going on, his big advantage is gas. All he needs to do is stay alive until he can do something nifty, like get up those broodlords! Get up those broodlords! Now for one of these silly Zerg vs. Zerg battles where you have no idea what's going on. Ah! But in general, throwing down the infested Terran eggs at the front to let all your roaches sweep around, great idea. Because the infested Terran eggs, if they take some damage and then pop, they get their life back. Stephano with some great tactics. I mean, very clearly, especially once Sheth throws down these geysers, he will be very, very ahead. Just very, very bluntly ahead. So we have the good old corruptors plopping down. And now, with this huge lead, Sheth does something that I feel like almost loses the game. I love the position Sheth's in. I love the way he's positioned himself. This sort of move doesn't quite need to happen like this. I mean, the basics of this is that we don't really want a lot of our food tied up in roaches. We want it tied up in broodlords. We want it tied up in infestors. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the roaches somehow that does some damage, and then that way it frees us up. And in the meantime, Stephano is still busy going Roach Hydra. Sending some roaches here is good. The best way, again, Nydus network right there. Nydus worm here, pop out 12 roaches or so, start trying to do damage, and then run to this side. The most important thing to do with roaches, or with any sort of like unit that you're trying to get rid of, is just to kill expansions. So this split happens when we kill off this base. trying to kill off some of these infestors is fine, but Sheth loses a lot of food. Like, I'm talking Sheth loses a lot of stuff. I'm actually going to come to just before this and note that it's pretty even. It's about 20k to 20k. And it gets more and more uneven as more and more Sheth unit stuff gets lost. And Stephano just the smart move of just going, oh, alright, well I guess I'm just going to go attack and win and kill him. It's fine to sack some roaches, you don't have to sacrifice all of them. I mean, Sheth freed up the food, and now he's having to build a whole bunch of Zerglings to try to just build anything he can to stay alive. I mean, this is not quite the situation you want to be in. Nydus warming again, but the greatest alternative to anything of all time. But still, the basic awesome idea of getting these Broodlords up, using all this gas to buy time. I'm actually focusing too much on the negative. The honest truth is that the positives are so positive. The fact that we are able to get Infestor Broodlord up with relative ease is just uncanny in how intensive a matchup this really is. And Stephano, despite his best efforts to break it, is unable to. In the meantime, Stephano is, again, trying to take out expansions. If you're going to hurl units at someone, you may as well be taking out expansions. Actually, may as well is the wrong phrase. If you are going to be hurling just resources at an opponent like this, your primary target must be expansions. Stephano trying to do the same thing that Sheth did earlier on, but to not really much avail. Oh, excuse me, I'm just getting those yawns out before the After Hours Gaming League tonight. Yes. Poor Stephano. And we're really seeing at this point in time the result of the mid-game. The result of the mid-game is the following. Actually, can we go to an army tab like this? Yeah, okay, cool. In the mid-game, we kept Stephano pinned on these 3 bases. They are now mined out, and it was really difficult for Stephano to get a 4th, because we were going for our Ling Muta thing. And in the midst of all this, we got up our fancy schmancy extra expanse. You'll notice how much more gas is in our army. That is just a ridiculous amount more gas. In the unit station, we see the 4 infestors, 6 broodlords, 7 hydrils, very gas heavy. Even with 12 infestors, Stephano is well behind. I mean, I'm actually curious as if we pop back to, let me see, it would be at around 23 minutes. Yeah, almost always Sheth is having a little bit more gas in his army. Let's go to 24 minutes. Sheth always having a little bit more gas in the army. I mean, I think even if I step forward a little bit more in this fight. This is when they did that trade earlier on. This is not when he had the Broodlords up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's just very pronounced how much more this army is in terms of gas at all points in time. I mean, at this point, we actually are like at 150 versus our opponent's max, and we still have more gas in our army. The undeniable effect of focusing on taking those extra bases and those extra geysers in the mid-game. Stephano, though, per usual, is so good that he can almost pull Miracle in anything, but it's hard to pull a Miracle when your opponent is that good! And there's the well play. Yeah! So that was a Zerg vs. Zerg. Now, I'm going to take some questions, but I don't actually know if the question grabber will grab questions properly with the chat being a little bit off. Let me go ahead and start it and see. Looks like there's just not that many signals going on. Oh, a nice, good sit is what I need. Oh, yes, this is fantastic. I love this sit. Let me just tilt this down. Hey, welcome to my level, ladies and gents. I've always wanted to be a puppet. Let me see if any of the questions are grabbing. It doesn't look like it. Oh, here's a great question from the Giant Gnome. Day 9, why didn't Sheth continue to make mutalisks? If he had made mutalisks, couldn't he have been more aggressive and then return to defend at a moment's notice? So it comes, I have two reasons as to why we don't want to be getting mutalisks. The first and most simple reason is that think about mutalisks as a big army composition. Like if we are maxed and most of our mix is the mutalisk, a lot of mixtures are really scary. If we get hit with a fungal, we're liable to lose 15, 20 mutalisks in that one fungal. Hell, if he has fungal and hydras, we're going to be in terrible shape. When he gets to our front, he has fungal, hydra, and worst of all, roaches. Mutalisks are not good against roaches. If we're going mutaling, what's the best answer we have to roaches? Well, spine crawlers. So this ends up being a huge issue if we have just mass mutalisks. So that's the first simple answer. The second, and I think more important answer, is that it comes to purpose. What is the purpose of the mutalisks? Is the purpose of the mutalisks to get in huge numbers and to overrun him with mutalisks? Can we even do that? Probably not. The purpose of our mutalisks was to get 3 and 4 bases up, and then so we can get things like infestors and roach tech started. They're a transitionary unit. So in fact, whenever we're making mutalisks in this build style, we should always be asking the question, can I stop now? Can I stop muting now? Can I stop mutas now? Can I stop mutas? The question is, I need to know the earliest I can stop. So that way I can really ramp up into the infestors quickly. It's a transition. So yeah, I actually think that is true for a lot of transitions, is you should be trying to think of, instead of, how do I make more of these, but how soon can I stop? Very simple one, Terrans early expand, and they go Hellions to control the map space against Zerg, and then they go Marine Tank. It's not, well, how many Hellions can I make? It's how many Hellions can I not make? Can I stop at 4? Can I even stop at 2? Hell, Bomber stopped at 2. I'm going to try to stop at 2. And that sort of thing. See if the question grabber's grabbing anything successfully. Nope, looks like the chat's going a little bit nutso. And I got one. Oh, we got more questions. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so here's a good question. Dear DJ, if the goal is always to buy time for expansions and tech, with the mutalisk style, yeah, then how can we tell when it is a good time to fully commit to an attack? Is it all based on what you've seen, what he has? So, honestly, a lot of it is pre-planned with Stephano. He started getting 1-1 upgrades early, so that way he could get 2-2 upgrades early, and he attacks around the time he has 2-2. The important thing is that most attacks are not built around seeing what he has and going for it. It's not based so much around him as it is based around me. So I have this great timing attack that gives me 4 infestors and 2-2 upgrades for roaches, and I go. That's a great description. And then you kind of figure out, maybe I should delay that a little bit, maybe I should do a little bit sooner. All attacks are more about me than it is about you. If you're in the position where you feel like you always have to know what's up to commit to an attack and it feels all amorphous, that means that you're not building enough drones, you're not focusing enough on the economy at home, and you should be focusing on things like droning, upgrading, and then picking a really brutal good attack timing. That's simple. Simplest of all, when is a good upgrade done, or when do a bunch of infestors pop out? That is the really, 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 really big thing to note. Again, if you are doing too much of this, well, I have some units and I think I can break them, but I'm not sure, and it's different from this game than it is on that game, then you're just building too many units too early on. By the way, these are my legs. And Nildoen says, Day 9, Stephano didn't get the Spire Tech at any point in that game. How do you think this affected the outcome? I think it was correct for him not to get the Spire Tech at any point. And I think that Stephano could have tipped the outcome in his favor by defending a little bit better against the Mutaling, or maybe doing a little bit more with his Lane Roach right at the start of the game. But I think it's correct for him to have not gotten the Spire. He was stuck on 3 base and 6 gas for the majority of the game. What is he going to do with the Spire? Go Mutalisk? He's already dumped all his gas into Roaches. Is he going to be going Corruptor? Well, probably wouldn't go Corruptor unless he was going Broodlord, but he's just not going to be going Broodlord tech because he's only on 6 gas. You just can't possibly support that. So I think it's great. I think he actually would have lost faster if he did that. Dizamon, I'm going to take this final question. Seeing as how Stephano was behind in gas and expansions throughout the game, what would be the best strategy for catching up? It's important to notice the subtlety of all the implications of that statement, because it's not quite that he was just behind all game and how do you catch up, because he was actually in some pretty good spots pretty early on. Here we go. So, as a matter of fact, Stephano actually took his third early, very early, much earlier than Sheth did. Sheth was still trying to get his setup. There we go. When this one was already finishing. And in the drone count, we see that Stephano continued to try to focus on drones a lot throughout this entire process and was saturating this expansion by a good bit. You know, obviously losing a good amount, but staying pretty even. Drones are more important for determining economic lead than expansions. The economic lead still goes to Stephano by quite a bit. Stephano's actually getting geysers a lot earlier and in a lot higher number than Sheth is. Look, the drone lead still goes to Stephano. So in fact, Stephano's doing much better in the economic race, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to double him up. And the best way to, quote, catch up is to know when your timing attack is. If we know when our timing attack is, and quite bluntly, it just comes after we get 2-2 and a bunch of infestors. Once that comes up, once we're done defending, we just mount a huge offensive right as this player is starting to mine. I mean, look at this, 1430, it's just really been mined. These mineral fields, most of them are at 1400. Not really much has been mined here. Look at this, only about 300 gas, only about 250 gas. So in fact, doing this timing on 3 bases before you take your 4th is what's going to be the key. But yeah, whenever you're behind on bases, you just want to do a really strong timing attack with a clear advantage. The clear advantage here. The upgrades. You just exploit that clear advantage. And then when you're doing that, you expand. And you might be saying, what's my clear advantage? How do I know what my clear advantage is? You chose that before the game. You chose that before the game. You said, I'm going to be getting my upgrades way early in this game. Okay, then that's your advantage. You want to be doing that. I am going to be getting really fast hive tech. Okay, well, you want to be attacking when you get your Ultralisks or your Broodlords out. You want to know what that advantage is, kind of before the game starts. And if you don't know, just think for like a minute, and whatever you think is most reasonable, you can do that. Okay, well, I'm getting 3 bases and droning up way earlier than my opponent. I'm just going to attack when I hit max because I probably max out quicker than him. Boom, you've just had a thought. Remember, the timing attack is more about me and what I'm doing than about what he's doing. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to go into caster mode because I will be casting the After Hours Gaming League starting now. No, actually in 15 minutes I'll be starting it. Let me note once again, April 23rd to 28th is Euro Week! Euro Week! Take that screenshot, I don't give a shit. It's Euro Week coming up. I'll be doing the dailies at 10 a.m. Pacific. And I believe that is 7 p.m. CET. Or CEST, or whatever CE thing you crazy Europeans are on. I just don't know. Next week's Fun Day Monday. What's Fun Day Monday? What's Fun Day Monday? What's Fun Day Monday? Oh, the Nuke V2. Jeez, that was scary. It's the Nuke V2, or the 2v Nuke, whatever you want to say. In the 2v Nuke, you and an ally must play in a 2 versus 2, where one of you may only build ghosts, nukes, and medevacs. That's it. That's the only thing you may build. You can get the cloak, you can get the upgrades, you can get turrets, planetary fortresses, but the only units, ghosts, nukes, and medevacs. The other may do whatever. Submit to me that 2v2 to Monday at day9.tv. Anytime you launch a nuke, you must say a phrase from Dr. Zeus. You can make it up. You can say something like, "Oh, you will certainly enjoy my presence soon. I'm launching a nuclear missile," or even a glazoon. Just something like that. That'll be fine. Send those to Monday at day9.tv. Not 1v1, just 2v2 for next week. And then for now, we're going to go to the After Hours Gaming League. So guys, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. It's time to do the AHGL. Get ready!